10 signs appears when you both are thinking each other. It's not just in your head. Modern Stoic. When you meet someone with the same frequency as you, it's not chance, it's alignment. Unknown, you've been going about your day and suddenly, there they are, not physically but in your mind. A flash of their name, a moment you shared that resurfaces out of nowhere. A feeling, subtle but persistent, that you're still somehow connected. Despite time, distance, or silence, you ask yourself, why now? And more importantly, are they feeling this too? Here's what modern psychology and centuries of quiet human intuition suggest when two people share a deep emotional or energetic bond. It doesn't just fade. Even in absence, that connection can echo. And sometimes, those echoes show up as signs, subtle yet potent indicators that you're not alone in your thoughts. This isn't fantasy. It's a real, studied psychological phenomenon rooted in emotional resonance, shared memory, and the subconscious cues our brains constantly process. So if you felt that tug, that strange synchronicity, or that quiet certainty, they might be feeling it too. Let's explore 10 clear signs that the connection still runs both ways. 1. You feel each other without speaking. Real connection doesn't wait for words. It speaks in silence. It moves through instinct. It's knowing, not guessing. When you sense something's off with her, and hours later, you find out she was hurting. That's not luck. That's not a hunch. That's the invisible thread of connection, pulled tight by something deeper than logic. When your phone lights up just moments after she crossed your mind, don't call it coincidence. Call it what it is, intuitive bonding, a recognition of energy, a silent signal passed between two people whose spirits are still locked in sync. This isn't softness. This is strength. This is what the Stoic understands, not the cold avoidance of emotion, but the disciplined embrace of truth. And the truth is, some connections outlive conversation. They run beneath the surface. The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "And when two souls have once met, truly met, they stain each other in ways no time or distance can erase." Don't dismiss this as fantasy. This is reality for those awake enough to see it. Men anchored in Stoic principles know the value of stillness, but they also recognize the wisdom of the gut. Intuition is a form of intelligence. It's not irrational. It's ancient. It's what told warriors when to raise their shield. It's what told the old leaders when a battle was coming before they saw the enemy. That same inner compass now tells you when she's thinking of you, when her sadness touches your chest before you hear her voice. That is the evidence. That is the call. And you must listen. Modern life tries to distract you from this with noise, endless messages, shallow thinking. Don't be fooled. Be focused. Be alert. Master this quiet knowing. In a world where everyone is shouting, the Stoic man listens. He observes, he senses, and he acts only when necessary, with precision, not impulse. So when you feel her presence before the message comes, when your heart tightens without reason, don't ignore it. Honor it. It means the connection still breathes. It means your soul is still tuned to hers. That is not a weakness. That is power. Let's be clear, not all connections are built to last, but the ones that linger in silence, the ones that show up in your gut, not your inbox, those are rare, those are real. And if you're feeling it, chances are, so is she. That's the kind of awareness most men miss. Don't be like most men. Be awake, be deliberate, be the one who knows, not the one who doubts. To understand the true quality of people, you must look into their minds and examine their pursuits and aversions. Marcus Aurelius didn't write for the faint of heart. He wrote for men like you, men willing to master themselves, to trust what's felt but not said, to live by Stoic principles and win not with force, but with presence. So when your spirit feels her before the world gives you proof, trust it. That is the edge. That is the sign. And that, my friend, is how you master life without saying a word. 2. You feel their presence in silence. Silence, when you're truly connected to someone, doesn't just fill a room, it echoes through your bones. It can soothe you like a warm hand on your chest, or rattle you like a gust of wind through an open window in the dead of night. That's the paradox. When the connection runs deep, deeper than conversation, deeper than logic, the quiet becomes its own kind of language. You lie in bed, the room still, yet suddenly you feel it there. Not in body, no, but in feeling, in memory, in something more ancient than thought. A song plays, your heart clenches, and for a split second, it's like they've stepped into the room with you. That's not madness. That's not a weakness. That's a phenomenon real enough to be studied. What thinkers and therapists call a phantom connection. It's when the emotional gravity between two people is so strong, it outlives the physical contact. This isn't some dreamy fantasy. This is the lived truth of the modern Stoic, the man who can feel without being ruled, who can remember without unravelling. The blessing of Stoicism is not in denying the presence of another once they're gone, but in recognising that the depth of that presence means something. It means you felt something real, and in a world addicted to surface-level everything, that is rare. That is gold. You must understand this sometimes. Silence isn't absence. Sometimes, silence is their soul whispering when their mouth can't speak. That stillness you feel before sleep. That moment where the world goes quiet and only one face lives in your thoughts. That's not your mind playing tricks. That's memory and energy intertwining. That's a conversation between two spirits that never needed phones or screens to communicate. The old Stoic would sit with this feeling, honour it, learn from it. He wouldn't numb it, he wouldn't run. Be that man, be still, be alert. Because when the presence of someone lingers in silence, it's not because you're weak. It's because the connection was strong. It is strong. Don't dismiss it. Don't belittle it. That's not just grief or longing. That's real, human resonance. And you must have the spine to stand in that space, to hold it, to listen to what silence is trying to say. The modern Stoic doesn't fear these moments. He sees them for what they are, proof that connection is more than contact, that love is more than noise, and that some bonds do not break. They simply evolve. So when you feel them beside you in a quiet room, don't flinch, don't doubt it. That is not emptiness. That is presence. That is love enduring through silence. That, my friend, is the true blessing of Stoicism. If you found value in this, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs this message. And don't forget to subscribe for more Stoic insights and modern wisdom. Let's build a space for grounded men who feel deeply and live intentionally. Comment to remember, I honour the power of silent connection. Drop it below to remind yourself and others that real presence doesn't need noise. 3. You keep seeing their name everywhere. You're going through your day like any other, coffee in hand, email piling up, halfway tuned into the world, and then it happens. Boom. Their name jumps out at you like it's chasing you down. On a street sign, a podcast guest, a character in a show you've never watched before. At first, you brush it off. Coincidence. Right. But then it happens again. And again. That's no accident. That's a phenomenon known in psychology as the Bader, Meinhof effect, or frequency illusion. It's what happens when your brain, emotionally wired and subtly tuned, starts noticing something, or someone, over and over again, because it suddenly holds weight. When someone becomes emotionally significant, your awareness locks in. You're not forcing it. You're not imagining things. Your mind has become a radar, scanning the world for echoes of them. That's how deep connection works. And here's the kicker. It's not just your brain playing tricks. It's your energy responding. The emotional bond you once shared, or maybe still do, amplifies that signal. And in the Stoic life, where calm observation is king, recognizing these patterns isn't foolishness, it's wisdom. Don't dismiss the signs just because they seem strange. Be alert. Be aware. Stoicism teaches us to see clearly, not just with the eyes, but with understanding. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." If that person is colouring your thoughts, if their name is riding shotgun through your day, it's not a ghost. It's not an illusion. It's a reflection of an unresolved connection, still alive, still moving. That's not a weakness. That's reality. The Stoic lessons aren't about pretending you don't feel. They're about knowing how to feel without falling apart. You must understand. When something consistently shows up in your awareness, especially something tied to the heart, it may be more than just neural activity. It could be energy alignment. Yes, your brain plays a role, but so does the bond. And maybe, just maybe, they're thinking of you too. Maybe their thoughts, their emotions, their energy are being broadcast, and your subconscious is picking up the signal loud and clear. This is not a call to obsession. This is a call to attention. Don't ignore it. Don't overanalyze it either. Simply notice, observe, reflect. That's the Stoic way. The man who lives by Stoic principles doesn't chase shadows, but he doesn't turn a blind eye to the truth staring him in the face either. If their name is following you around, don't run from it. Ask yourself why. Ask what part of you is still reaching out, and what part of them might be doing the same. That is clarity. That is depth. That is the real world application of Stoicism in your emotional life. So the next time you see their name flash across your path, don't smirk and say, "What a weird coincidence." Stand still. Breathe. Pay attention. It might be the universe tapping you on the shoulder, saying, "Look again." 4. You can't stop thinking about them because you're destined to. And no, this isn't just some poetic fluff or feel-good sentiment. It's the realest truth a man living a Stoic life needs to hear. When someone keeps crashing into your thoughts like a tide that won't quit, waking you in the middle of the night or sliding into your mind while you're halfway through your morning coffee, don't be so quick to label it as nostalgia. Don't dismiss it as a leftover feeling. Be sharper than that, because sometimes what you're experiencing isn't just memory. It's a message, a pull, a sign that destiny might have a say in this. See, the universe doesn't shout, it whispers. And the modern man, especially one rooted in Stoic lessons, must be wise enough to hear it. When a certain someone keeps showing up in your dreams, popping up in your day-to-day, or slipping into your mind like clockwork, that's not a coincidence. That's alignment. That's the universe nudging you toward what still matters. It doesn't matter how long it's been or how much you've tried to rationalize your way out of it. If their name still burns behind your thoughts like a soft ember, it's because some connections aren't made to fade. Some bonds were carved into your path long before you even met. Call it fate, call it divine timing, or call it a soul contract. It doesn't change what it is. The Stoic life isn't about denying emotion, it's about mastering your reaction to it. But mastery doesn't mean blindness. The blessing of Stoicism is in recognizing which feelings matter and which are just noise. And this quiet, persistent longing. It's not noise. It's a signal, one worth your attention. When two souls are meant to connect, life will leave breadcrumbs, some obvious, some hidden in the most mundane moments. A song, a phrase, a scent. You must be awake enough to notice. Don't talk yourself out of what your heart already knows. Don't let logic strangle instinct. Be grounded, yes, but not numb. A true man of Stoicism understands that not all truths can be proven. Some must be felt, deeply, viscerally, because the heart knows what the mind can't always explain. When someone's energy stays locked into your orbit, when they live in your mind rent-free despite the years, despite the silence, that's not weakness. That's gravity, and gravity doesn't ask permission. So stop trying to silence the feeling. Acknowledge it. Sit with it. Let it guide you. Not rule you, but guide you. That's the balance. That's art. Because the Stoic lessons you carry are not about becoming stone. They're about becoming unshakable and aware. It's about strength with soul, stillness with sensitivity. If she still lingers in your heart, despite time, despite distance, then maybe, just maybe, she's meant to. And that, my friend, is not something you ignore. That's something you honor. That's something you understand with your whole being. Because sometimes, destiny doesn't come crashing in. Sometimes, it just stays quiet, constant, waiting for you to finally notice. If this speaks to something deep in you, if they keep showing up in your mind, uninvited but welcome, then maybe it's not just chance. Maybe it's destiny doing its quiet work. If you feel that pull, don't ignore it. Like, share, and subscribe for more modern Stoic insight. Comment to remember. If they're meant to stay, the universe won't let me forget. 5. They smile when they think of you. There's power in the quiet truth that someone out there smiles, not because of what you said, but because of who you are. That's not fantasy, that's psychology. That's an emotional imprint. In a world built on noise, the calm memory of a man who made someone feel seen, steady, and safe is rare and unforgettable. When you become someone's peace, their mind doesn't need a reason to revisit you. It chooses to. Their smile is involuntary. That's not an accident. That's associative memory. The brain's way of locking in emotional experiences and pairing them with people. You made them laugh. You brought calm. You showed up when it mattered. So now, even in your absence, their nervous system remembers your presence. Their body reacts with warmth before their mind even finishes the thought. And you need to understand, this isn't just about romance. This is about legacy, impact, and character. Stoic principles teach us that our actions shape our character, and our character echoes long after we're gone. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. If you become a thought that brings someone joy, you've done something right, so don't question it. Don't second-guess your impact just because you're not in the room. Be the man whose presence is remembered in peace, not in pain. In a modern world starving for real connection, you must become someone unforgettable, not by being loud, but by being anchored. Live your Stoic life in such a way that even your absence feels like support. That's the real victory. That's a lasting influence. In a sea of temporary distractions, be the one thought that sticks, the one memory that warms. You don't need validation to know you've left an emotional imprint. You need awareness. Let your legacy be a quiet smile on someone's face at the end of a hard day. That is power. That is success. That is Stoicism in practice. Not just surviving life, but mastering it. Don't chase attention. Don't seek applause. Build yourself into the kind of man who is remembered fondly, even in silence. Let your consistency, kindness, and presence speak louder than any message ever could. In the words of Marcus Aurelius, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. So be the man they think of and smile. Be the memory that heals, not hurts. Be the peace they never had to ask for. Because if their heart still smiles when your name crosses their mind, you've already won. You've lived the Stoic life, whether you knew it or not. That is what mastery looks like. Quiet, steady, lasting. 6. You feel emotionally in sync even when you're far apart. You feel emotionally in sync even when you're miles apart. And no, it's not just your imagination playing tricks on you. There's a strange and beautiful truth that even the old Stoic philosophers might have tipped their heads to. Something deeper than coincidence, sharper than chance. You're not texting every day, you're not glued to each other's orbit, but still, without warning, you feel them. You catch yourself staring into space with a strange weight in your chest. Then find out later they were facing something tough at that exact moment. You chuckle at an inside joke that pops into your head, only to hear they were thinking about that same memory, unprovoked. That's not just nostalgia, that's empathic resonance. A real, studied phenomenon, where two minds, Two hearts seem to tap into the same emotional frequency. It's not mystical nonsense. It's modern Stoic science meets the raw pulse of human connection. The modern Stoic man learns to respect it, not dismiss it. You must. Because these emotional echoes, they're telling you something. Don't underestimate it. Don't talk yourself out of it. This is one of those blessings of Stoicism, not suppressing the experience, but understanding it with clarity. It's a connection without neediness. It's being seen, even in silence. And yes, even Marcus Aurelius would agree. Some bonds don't ask for proof, they just exist. You think of her, the phone buzzes, you get chills before she calls. It's not magic. It's the mysterious logic of deep, reciprocal awareness. Your nervous systems remember each other. Your emotional cues are tuned in, like old radio stations still playing through static. Be honest, how many times have you brushed off those coincidences just to save face, to protect that armor the old Stoic in you wears so proudly? But being a modern Stoic doesn't mean being numb. It means being awake to truth, to timing, to emotional intelligence. You must feel it and still stand strong. There's power in knowing you're not going crazy. There's someone out there dancing to your same invisible rhythm. This isn't teenage fantasy, it's an adult realization. It's the soul's quiet nod in a noisy world. That is the beauty of connection that doesn't ask to be loud. It doesn't beg. It simply is. And the modern Stoic sees it, knows it, and honors it. You don't need validation when you know the vibration. It doesn't matter if the world says that's just in your head, because when it happens again, and it will, you'll remember this truth the old Stoic knee pain. The modern Stoic knows alignment. You're not alone, not in emotion, not in thought. There's someone on the other side of that silence, feeling the same pull, so don't dismiss it. Recognize the signal, respect the energy, and for the love of all things real, stay open. Because sometimes the strongest connections don't come from constant words, but from the blessing of Stoicism, the kind that lets you feel deeply without falling apart. If you've ever felt that invisible rhythm, where your mood shifts and theirs does too, where the silence still feels full, then you know it's real. That's not luck. That's empathic resonance. That's a connection beyond words. And if that truth hits home for you, drop a comment right now. Our hearts speak the same language, even in silence. Like this video, subscribe for more Stoic life clarity. And remember, real connection doesn't beg for attention. It moves through presence. 7. When you miss them, it's because they miss you too. Here's a deeper look into a truth most men brush off with a shrug. But shouldn't when you suddenly miss her, out of nowhere, with a sharp tug in your chest like a guitar string snapping, don't just chalk it up to nostalgia or loneliness. That feeling might not be yours alone. In fact, that emotional pull could be hers too. You see, the modern Stoic doesn't wallow in sentiment, but he doesn't ignore his instincts either. Emotional reciprocity. It's not some romantic mumbo-jumbo. It's real. The human heart, as old Stoics quietly understood, doesn't just pump blood. It sends and receives signals, subtle ones, that science hasn't quite mapped, but every man has felt. Like when your thoughts are yanked towards someone with no warning, there's a reason for that. You might be feeling their energy reaching out, gently, insistently. It's not a weakness, it's a connection. And the blessing of Stoicism is knowing how to stay grounded, while also being aware of the invisible threads that bind you to others. When someone's energy is braided into yours, when you've shared real time, real moments, there's an imprint left behind, an echo. So when she pops into your mind and won't leave, don't tell yourself you're being soft. Don't silence that instinct. Be still, be sharp. That may very well be her thinking of you, wanting to reach out, choosing silence but sending signals anyway. The old Stoic knew how to sit in silence and listen to what most men ignore. He knew that missing someone isn't a cry for attention. It's a recognition of shared frequency, a pull from the deep well of connection. The modern Stoic doesn't chase ghosts, but he also doesn't deny the mysterious language of the heart, that tightness in your chest, that sudden swirl of memory. That's not a weakness. That's awareness. So don't bury it. Let it speak. Let it remind you that maybe, just maybe, you're not the only one awake in the middle of the night wondering if the other person feels it too, because chances are they do. They just don't know how to say it out loud. And sometimes, the blessing of Stoicism is realizing you don't need words. You just need to feel and know. So the next time your thoughts drift, uninvited but relentless, take a breath. Don't dismiss it. Don't harden. Be the man who notices. Be the man who trusts his instincts. Because missing someone might just be your heart responding to theirs. And that is not weakness. That is wisdom. That is strength in its quietest, most powerful form. 8. They pop into your mind out of nowhere. It's not just coincidence, not just nostalgia wearing a new jacket. You're in the middle of something mundane, washing dishes, replying to emails, stuck in traffic, and suddenly, there it is. Their name, their faces, that one laugh they do when they're trying not to laugh. It's not like you were reminiscing. You weren't scrolling through old photos or chasing some sentimental thread. It just happens, like a whisper breaking through the noise, as if someone backstage pulled the curtain just wide enough for their energy to slip through. That's not fantasy. That's a real, studied phenomenon. Psychologists call it thought transference, the idea that two minds, especially those emotionally bonded, can exchange thoughts, even from a distance. No texts, no calls, just a surge of them in your head like a signal from a far-off radio tower tuned exactly to your frequency. Don't shrug it off. Don't bury it under the old Stoic habit of stay logical, stay detached. Because even the ancient Stoics understood the unseen threads of human nature. Seneca didn't need a smartphone to know that souls, once connected, often drift toward each other when least expected. This is one of those quiet Stoic lessons: awareness without obsession, acknowledgement without overindulgence. Be alert, be still. When someone floods your thoughts from nowhere, it might not be one-sided. It could be their mind knocking at your door, looking for connection in the only way it can. You must understand this is not weakness. It's deep. It's part of the Stoic life, the art of mastering the mind while staying open to mystery. This isn't about turning spiritual fluff into science fiction. It's about recognizing that emotional bonds operate outside of GPS coordinates. Maybe they were thinking of you first. Maybe your name rolled through their thoughts, warm and uninvited, and somehow that ripple made its way to you. That's not superstition, that's the resonance. That's a quiet moment of alignment that can't be forced, only noticed. That is where real connection lives, not in constant communication, but in those strange, split, second reminders that someone out there is carrying a piece of your energy. And when that flash of their presence comes without a trigger, that's not noise. That's a signal. You're tuned in, so don't dismiss it. Don't explain it away to feel rational. Instead, embrace it with that rare blend of strength and softness the Stoic life teaches. Let the moment land. Let it teach you something. Because the truth is, when someone pops into your head out of nowhere, it could mean they're already thinking of you. Not in some Hollywood drama way, but in the real, quiet way that life, when lived with presence, reveals its hidden architecture. That's a lesson worth paying attention to. That's a Stoic lesson dressed in everyday clothes, and it's not just in your head. If you've ever felt that sudden thought strike out of nowhere, like a whisper you didn't ask for, you're already more aware than most. Most men ignore it. You didn't. You felt it. You recognized it. That's the beginning of real connection and inner power. Comment below. I trust the signal. I honor the connection. Let the world know you're no longer blind to the signs. 9. You get sudden waves of emotion that don't feel like yours. Listen carefully, because this is not some vague, mystical theory. It's real, and it matters. You felt it. A wave of emotion, sadness, tension, joy, even fear, crashes into your chest without warning. It doesn't match your day. It doesn't fit your reality. It just appears. And here's the truth that emotion might not be yours. It could be the result of emotional projection, a powerful phenomenon that modern psychology recognizes, and that ancient Stoic thinkers would have intuitively understood. When two people are connected, truly bonded, there is a resonance, an energetic bridge between them. You are not weak for feeling this. In fact, awareness of this connection makes you stronger. Marcus Aurelius, a pillar of Stoic thought, once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." But what happens when the thoughts and the emotions aren't even yours? That's when Stoic discipline becomes vital. You must stand firm. You must master the storm before it controls your decisions. Don't dismiss these waves, but don't let them rule you either. A modern man guided by Stoic principles understands the difference between his own emotional truth and that which enters from another. Recognize it, acknowledge it, then control your response. Emotional intelligence is not about avoidance, it's about command. That sudden sadness, that surge of joy, it may be their signal, reaching for your attention. A connection that defies logic, yet demands presence. But here's the catch. You must not react blindly. You must remain grounded, just as the Stoics taught. Don't get swept away, control the inner battlefield, own your space, stay still in your own soul, because if someone's storm is moving through your sky, you are the one who must choose whether to let it rain or rise above the clouds. Let's be real. Modern life is loud, stress, distraction, endless pressure. That makes your emotional clarity even more essential. Don't ignore these signs. Don't suppress them either. Observe, discern, decide. The Stoic man does not fear emotion. He masters it. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So let's get clear. If you're feeling something deep, something unexplained, it could be energy from someone else, someone connected to you. That's not a weakness, that's insight. But never let it shake your foundation. Let it remind you that the true test of strength is not what you feel, it's how you respond. Be still, be sharp, be sovereign, because the modern Stoic doesn't chase signs. He understands them. He owns his energy. He rules his inner world. That is what it means to master your mind, to live with honor, and to walk the path of the Stoic in today's chaotic world. So the next time that wave hits, don't drown. Stand, breathe, lead. This is your life. Rule it. 10. You have dreams about them, and they feel real. Pay attention. Not all dreams are just dreams. Some carry weight, some wake you up with a jolt, not from fear, but from the unmistakable feeling that someone was there with you. You saw their faces, you heard their voice, you felt something real. That was no illusion. That was a soul encounter. In the quiet of the night, when your defenses are down and your mind isn't distracted by emails, deadlines, or traffic, connections find their way in. When the bond between two people runs deep, when it's etched into the subconscious, it doesn't disappear just because the day ends. It resurfaces in your sleep. This isn't mysticism. It's memory, emotion, and energy colliding. Psychology has started to explore this. Shared dreaming, subconscious connection, soul resonance, call it what you want. What matters is you felt it. And if that dream keeps coming back, vivid, specific, emotionally charged, it could be more than just memory. It could mean that they're dreaming of you, too. Not just in passing thought, but in spirit, in connection, and in longing. Don't brush that off. Don't be quick to label it fantasy. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts." What do you think of repeatedly? What enters your dreams is not meaningless. It's a signal, a symbol, a calling. If that person keeps returning to your mind while you sleep, your soul is paying attention. Maybe theirs is, too. This is where Stoic principles come in. The modern man must not be ruled by emotion, but he must also not ignore it. A Stoic doesn't flee from the truth of his heart. He faces it, he examines it, then he chooses his response, not with impulse, but with wisdom. Don't chase ghosts, don't lose yourself in dreams, but don't deny what your spirit is trying to show you. There's power in self-awareness, there's strength in silence, but most of all, there is clarity in stillness. The Stoic man doesn't wake up confused. He wakes up alert. He reflects. He asks, what does this mean? What should I do with it? Then he acts with purpose. That is modern mastery. That is mental sovereignty. Let's get serious. This isn't about being emotional. It's about being in command. If someone is appearing in your dreams night after night, it may be a sign that something remains unresolved, unfinished, or unspoken. That doesn't mean you must act, but you must not ignore. Reflect. Decide. Be intentional. The Stoic path isn't about coldness. It's about control. You own your mind. You rule your emotions. You don't react. You respond. That is how a man leads himself. That is how a man earns clarity, even in the shadows of sleep. So the next time you wake up with someone still lingering in your spirit, don't panic. Don't fantasize. Think. Stand up. Face the truth. And remember, the dream may pass, but the lesson remains. Own it. Rise from it. Let it shape you, not shake you. Thanks for watching, my friend. If this resonated with you, just know you're not alone and you're not imagining things. The signs we talked about today, they're not just coincidences. They're little reminders that real connections don't vanish. They echo through thoughts, energy, and time. So here's my honest advice. Don't ignore the signs. Stay open, stay grounded. And if someone's been on your heart, maybe it's for a reason. Maybe they're feeling it too. Take care of yourself, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more truths like this, grounded in modern Stoic wisdom. Until next time, be well and trust what your soul already knows. Things to talk about with women. Tier list. Modern Stoic. A wise man speaks because he has something to say. A fool because he has to say something. Plato. Let's cut to it. Gentlemen, if you're here, chances are you're either unsure what to say to women, your mind goes blank, or you can talk, but the convo falls flat, boring, or forgettable. In both cases, the fix is the same. You need to lead. When you let her run the show, the energy drops fast. She may ramble. You'll tune out. The vibe dies. Not because she's boring, but because you stopped steering. Just like on a date, your role is to guide. That doesn't mean dominating. It means directing the flow toward things that engage both of you. This tier list ranks conversation topics that are fun and emotionally engaging gender, neutral and easy to vibe with, great for teasing, laughing, and connecting. And no, this isn't about small talk. It's about creating spark. If she's a friend, let her talk about whatever. But if you're building an attraction, take the lead. Let's get into it. Topic 1. Weather. Don't underestimate the weather. Yes, it's small talk. Yes, it feels like verbal wallpaper. But here's the truth when you're caught in that awkward moment where silence stretches just a little too long. The weather is your secret parachute. Don't scoff at it. Use it. Be clever with it. The temperature, the rain, the heat wave from hell, or that bizarre shift from summer to sweater, weather overnight, all of it gives you something neutral, something light, something real. It's a gateway, not a destination. Think of it as the May tier on the conversation tier list. Not exciting, not awful, just functional. But that function is crucial. It buys you time. It builds comfort. And most importantly, it signals that you're present. The modern Stoic doesn't flinch at the mundane. He uses it. That's the blessing of Stoicism. the ability to turn even the most common detail into a moment of clarity or connection. The old Stoic wouldn't complain about small talk. He'd master it, redirect it, and eventually guide the conversation somewhere far more meaningful. So, don't linger on the weather, but don't fear it either. Use it to transition, to loosen up, to observe how she reacts. That, my friend, is not just talking about the weather. That's modern Stoic wisdom in action. Topic 2, her life. Let's talk about her life, but let's do it right. This is where I sharply break from the cookie-cutter advice you've heard before. Just listen. They say, let her talk. Well, sure. If your goal is to be her emotional support golden retriever, that's not Stoicism. That's self-sacrifice disguised as wisdom. Don't just sit there like a human bobblehead, nodding into oblivion while she goes on about her kombucha brewing kit and her Pilates instructor named Sky. Be present. Be playful. That is the essence of the Stoic life. Balance, not blandness. Ask questions, sure, but don't fake interest. Don't pretend her 45-minute story about her cat's gluten allergy is riveting if it's not. Engage, redirect, add your own flavour, tease her a little, laugh with her, turn the conversation into a dance, not a monologue. That's a Stoic lesson they don't teach in dating blogs. Emotional honesty. A modern man living by Stoicism isn't passive. He's poised. So when the topic of her life comes up, treat it as a worthy door, one you can open with curiosity, but walk through with charm. Use it to reveal yourself, not erase yourself. A good 50-50 balance keeps things fun, flirty, and real. That's not friend zone behaviour, that's the Stoic life in motion. Topic 3. Her future. Let's get serious. If you want to move beyond surface talk, you must guide the conversation to one of the most potent places, her future. Don't hesitate. Don't fumble. Ask her to close her eyes and truly see herself 20 years from now. Where is she? What does her life look like? Who is standing beside her in that vision? That's not just a question. That's a strategy. You're not flirting anymore. You're planting a future. You're putting yourself into the emotional landscape of her long-term dream, and she doesn't even realize it. That is how emotional attachment is built. That is how the mind bonds, through vision, through hope, through forward motion. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts. So help her paint a picture, and let your presence tint it. This is deeper than asking about her weekend. This is Stoic strategy in action. The modern Stoic doesn't chase the moment, he shapes it. He uses Stoic principles to guide the flow of conversation, like a river, deliberate, controlled, meaningful. In today's world of distractions, showing vision is rare and powerfully attractive. Be the man who doesn't just entertain her now, but inspires who she becomes. Speak like a man who leads, not lingers. The Stoic understands the present is fleeting, but the future is a battlefield you can win. This isn't just talk, it's a move, a bold one. You must master it. Talk about her future, anchor yourself in her story, and do it with strength, clarity, and confidence. That's how the modern Stoic wins. Stick with me, because this is just the beginning. We're moving forward with even more powerful tactics to leave a lasting impact on their minds. Get ready for the next move, one that deepens their connection to you in ways they can't ignore. If you are ready, comment, let's go, let's move forward. Topic 4. Your life. Talk about your life, and do it without apology. This isn't arrogance, it's magnetism. That is the blessing of Stoicism self, possession without performance. Your life, your path, your mission. This should be the pulse of the conversation, not because you're trying to impress her with shiny facts or inflated achievements, but because you live with purpose. That kind of energy is rare, and rare is irresistible. Women are drawn to men who carry what I call the main character's gravity. The modern Stoic doesn't chase approval. He invites others into his world with calm certainty. Don't ramble, don't boast, Be bold, be deliberate, tell stories, not stats. Show passion, not perfection. Share your journey, not your resume. And if your life isn't all that compelling yet, change it, fix it, build it, make it something worth talking about. That's the old Stoic wisdom in action. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. You must be the anchor, the storm, and the horizon all at once. Don't get pulled into her world like driftwood. Pull her into yours like a tide. That's not selfish. That's sovereign. That's not loud. That's legendary. A modern Stoic leads the story, and a great story always starts with a man who owns his own life. Topic 5. Philosophy. Let's be blunt. Philosophy, while noble and profound, is usually a dead end street in early conversations with women. Don't misread that. This isn't about dumbing yourself down or hiding who you are. This is about knowing your audience and choosing your battlefield. That is a Stoic lesson. Control what you can, and don't waste energy on what doesn't move the needle. Most women aren't drawn to abstract theory or endless metaphysical spirals. They're drawn to emotion, experience, connection in the moment. Talking about Kant or Plato on a date. That's not depth, that's drift. You're not in a classroom, you're in a dance, and you must know the rhythm. Stoicism teaches clarity, not confusion, simplicity, not complexity. You want her to feel something, not solve a logic puzzle. Save the big brain debates for your closest friends or the quiet comfort of books. Don't use philosophical musings as a shield or a smokescreen. That is not the Stoic life. That's just overthinking disguised as depth. Be wise, be playful, be grounded. Share your beliefs in action, not lecture. That's how a man of Stoicism lives, not just by quoting Marcus Aurelius, but by embodying him. If you must bring up philosophy, make it human, make it real. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's not just a quote, it's a compass. Let it guide you. Topic 6. Dumb stuff. Let's be clear. Dumb stuff isn't dumb at all. It's a strategy. It's a connection. It's one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal. You must stop thinking every word needs to be profound. This isn't a philosophy seminar. This is life. Real, messy, fun life. And women don't want to feel like they're on trial. They want to feel alive. That is the point of playful nonsense. Random jokes, teasing remarks, impromptu impressions. You say, "You look like that goat with its tongue out," and she laughs. That's not stupidity. That's confidence. That's presence. That's social mastery. Marcus Aurelius said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself." Playfulness is within you. Use it. Don't chase intellectual dominance. Chase connection. That's what the modern world lacks. That's what the Stoic understands. A man anchored in Stoic principles knows when to be serious and when to be light. He knows humour disarms. It lowers anxiety. It creates safety. It signals confidence without needing to prove anything. So talk about the goat. Talk about aliens. Talk about the weird dream you had where you were being chased by a flying toaster. Why? Because it works. Because it builds the bridge. Because it sets you apart from the overthinking crowd. The Stoic doesn't always speak like a sage. Sometimes he jokes like a jester and still owns the room. Be that man. Be the man who laughs, who plays, who leads. That is the real application of Stoic principles in the modern world. Be strong enough to be silly. Be wise enough to know that's not weakness, it's control. Master the moment, command the vibe, and win the room by being free in it. And if you find today's content very interesting, please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. Topic 7. Immediate environment. Don't overthink it. Just look around you. When your mind goes blank, when the pressure to be interesting creeps in, the answer is right there in the room. That's the power of the immediate environment. It's not filler, it's fuel. Comment on her earrings, the vintage coffee mug, the weird art on the cafe wall, or the guy outside trying to parallel park like it's rocket science. That's not shallow, that's sharp. That is the blessing of Stoicism presence. The modern Stoic doesn't retreat into his head to search for the perfect thing to say. He anchors himself in the moment and reacts with calm, casual confidence. You must train your eyes to notice, your mouth to respond, your mind to relax. Be playful, be spontaneous. That is charm, not calculation. Even the old Stoic would agree when the world offers you 1,000 cues to connect. You take them. You don't wait for some divine insight to strike. You use what's in front of you to build rapport, to create rhythm, to make her feel seen. Stoicism isn't about silence. It's about skillfully navigating the noise. And in conversation, the environment is your lifeline. Use it. Own it. Let it carry you to confidence. Topic 8. Girl stuff, makeup, gossip, etc. Don't go there. Girl stuff, makeup routines, celebrity gossip, nail art debates. It's not your battlefield. That doesn't mean you can't mention it playfully or throw a cheeky jab with a grin. But do not start analysing contour techniques like you've got a beauty blog on the side. That is not the Stoic life. That's straying into a lane that isn't yours. And it shows. A modern man rooted in Stoicism knows when to listen with curiosity and when to redirect with purpose. You're not here to blend in. You're here to lead. If she brings it up, laugh with it. Dance around it with charm. Maybe say, I can barely tell lip balm from eyeliner, but you seem to have a PhD in it. That is how you stay grounded in masculine presence while still being engaging. The Stoic doesn't pretend. He doesn't fake interest to score points. That's not confidence. It's compromise. You must honour the Stoic lessons, authenticity over approval, direction over distraction. Be light, be clever, but stay rooted in your role. That's how you win her respect and keep your dignity. Topic 9. Sports. Don't default to sports unless she's actively involved. That is the rule. If she plays, watches, or follows a team with real passion, lean in, engage. But if not, don't turn the conversation into your personal highlight reel. This isn't your barbershop. It's a connection, not a broadcast. You must remember, the Stoic man doesn't just speak. He listens for resonance. A conversation is not a scoreboard to rack up facts about last night's game. It's an exchange of energy, a test of attention. Marcus Aurelius warned us, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. So be the man who knows when to shift gears, the man who isn't desperate to impress with stats, but bold enough to ask, listen, and adapt. Sports talk with the wrong woman will kill momentum. It's one-sided. It's unbalanced. That is not Stoic life. That's blind enthusiasm without awareness. You must follow Stoic principles: self, control, timing, presence, read the room, lead with curiosity, not ego. If she's not into it, pivot. Don't try to win a game she's not playing. Master the conversation like you would master your habits, with clarity, strength, and intention. The modern Stoic doesn't need to be cheered on. He owns the room by knowing when to speak and when to pass the ball. If this resonated with you, like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more insights from the modern Stoic mindset. Comment to remember, don't play a game she's not in. Lead with presence, not ego. Let's see who's mastering the art of conversation. Drop that line below. Topic 10. Movies, TV shows. Movies and TV shows. That's not just a good topic, that's gold. Every woman, from the art house film critic to the rom-com binge watcher, has something to say when it comes to what's on screen. That is your in. Don't waste it. Be ready to talk about Netflix, HBO, whatever she's been watching lately. Shows are shared stories, built-in bridges to connect emotionally without forcing anything. You laugh together, you guess plot twists, you bond over characters, and most importantly, you get to shift the spotlight without losing the vibe. That's the blessing of Stoicism in action, knowing when to steer the conversation without dominating it. The modern Stoic doesn't talk at her. He talks with her, flowing through shared interests like water over stone. If she's into crime thrillers, dive in. If she loves documentaries, ask why. If she's watching something totally outside your taste, stay curious. Be engaged, because it's not about the show. It's about what it reveals. Stories unlock emotion, and emotion is the real theatre. Even the old Stoic would agree connection begins not in the abstract, but in the everyday. Movies are mirrors. Use them to reflect who she is and who you are. You must use that screen to build something real. Don't underestimate its power. This is how the modern Stoic plays the long game, with presence, attention, and the courage to care about the simple things. Topic 11. Politics. Politics. Tread lightly? That is the rule. Not because you lack conviction, but because timing is everything. The Stoic life isn't about avoiding tension, it's about mastering the moment. Politics is a landmine wrapped in a conversation starter. One wrong step, and boom! What could have been a connection turns into conflict. Don't mistake that for weakness. It's wisdom. You must be strategic. If she's level-headed, curious, and knows how to discuss without turning every sentence into a battle cry, sure, wade in, carefully. But if she's the type who gets triggered by a headline or argues like Twitter is watching, steer clear. Why? Because Stoicism teaches restraint over reaction. As Marcus Aurelius put it, you always own the option of having no opinion. That's not surrender, that's strength. Be discerning. That is a Stoic lesson many men miss, the ability to choose silence, not out of fear, but out of control. You don't need to dive into policy debates to prove your depth. You prove it by knowing when to speak, and when not to. Politics might be relevant, but connection is the mission. And you don't win hearts by throwing grenades. So read the room, know your audience, and above all, don't let pride cost you peace. That's the art of the modern Stoic firm in principle, wise in practice, unshaken by noise. Topic 12. Music tier list safe and neutral? Music is a solid topic. It's universal, emotional, and present in nearly every human life. While it may not forge the deepest connections instantly, it opens the door. That's your opportunity. Don't underestimate it. Most women love music, different genres, artists, eras. And when you lead with curiosity, you unlock emotional memory. You must engage with real interest. Don't talk at her about your favourite band. Ask why she listens to hers. Ask what her first concert was. Ask what song brings her peace. Be the man who listens, really listens. That builds respect. That shows presence. That's modern Stoic strength, calm, steady, aware. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Use music to advance the way. It might not look powerful, but a simple topic like this, done with precision, creates trust. Trust leads to depth. That's your mission. Music is neutral, but it's a launch pad. Don't waste it on shallow small talk. Leverage it. Direct it. Don't ramble. Probe. What music do you put on when you need to feel strong? That question reveals values, moods, identity. You get to know who she is, not just what she listens to. That's Stoic. That's mastery. A Stoic man never depends on perfect circumstances. He adapts. He adjusts. He finds power in any conversation, even music, especially music, because music is emotion. It's a memory. It's a reflection. It's an expression without judgment. And you, grounded in Stoic principles, must hold the space for that with calm and strength. This isn't about flexing knowledge. This is about showing confidence through silence, leadership through listening. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Marcus Aurelius taught, be one. Let music be the path. Use it to demonstrate presence. Use it to stay curious. Use it to understand, not to impress. That is the discipline of the modern Stoic. That is emotional intelligence forged in strength. That is how you lead a conversation like a man. Stoic principles aren't theory, they're action. When you speak, speak with clarity. When you ask, ask with purpose. When you listen, listen like a warrior. That is how you turn a safe topic into a moment of connection. That is how you master life. Topic 13. Work tier list used with awareness. Work. Everyone does it, but not everyone talks about it, right? And here's where many men fall flat. They mistake venting for connecting. Don't do that. Don't unload your 9 to 5 frustrations like it's free therapy. That's not presence. That's projection. If your job is fascinating, energizing, maybe even a little dangerous or creative, then sure, lean in. Share it. Speak with clarity and purpose. But if your job drains you, if it's a battlefield of angry bosses and endless emails, do not drag that emotional clutter into the conversation. Women don't want to hear you complain. They want to feel who you are beneath the role. And if you're practicing the blessing of Stoicism, you already know you are not your job title. You are how you carry yourself. The old Stoic knew this truth. You must too. Now, don't fake enthusiasm. That's just as obvious. Be honest, but light. Be real, but intentional. If you've had a rough day, shift the focus. Mention it, then move on. That shows self-control. That shows maturity. That's the modern Stoic in motion, choosing what energy to bring and why. Be playful. Be witty. They haven't fired me yet, so I must be doing something right. Boom. Light, clever, grounded. That's the tone. And if she asks, if she's genuinely curious, then dive a little deeper, but with strength, not self-pity. You must frame your work as just one part of the man you are, not the entire portrait. As Marcus Aurelius, the old Stoic himself, said, the impediment to action advances action. So even if work is tough, show how you rise above it. That's power. That's presence. That's attractiveness rooted in control. Women are drawn to men who manage their world, not get buried by it. So if you talk about work, make it uplifting, make it story-worthy, make it human. That's the blessing of Stoicism. You decide what story you're telling and how. You must own your narrative. Don't dump your stress. Don't showcase your scars without showing your strength. Speak with authority, not apology. Let her see the man who handles life with a grin and a plan. Be the one who turns even the dullest job into a lesson in resilience, a tale with charm, because that's the secret. Work doesn't define you, but how you talk about it reveals everything. That is the mark of the modern Stoic. That is the art of powerful connection. If you made it this far, then you already understand what most men never learn. Your job doesn't define you, but how you talk about it does. Be the man who carries strength, not stress, who shares wit, not wounds. Comment below, I speak with authority, not apology. Let the world know you're not just surviving your work, you're mastering your story. Topic 14. Struggles, depression, problems, tier dangerous terrain, tread lightly. Let's be blunt. Talking about your struggles, depression, or personal problems too early is a trap. Don't fall into it. Don't mistake emotional dumping for emotional connection. That's not Stoicism. That's self-sabotage. Yes, life gets hard. Yes, pain is real. But the Stoic life teaches us to carry that weight with grace, not to make it someone else's burden. A woman you just met is not your therapist, and she's certainly not your savior. Attraction isn't built on pity. It's built on presence, purpose, and energy is what you must protect, yours and hers. As hard as it may feel, save the heavy talk for your inner circle. Share your shadows with those who've earned that trust, not with someone you're trying to spark attraction with. Don't confuse vulnerability with overexposure. They're not the same. Vulnerability is controlled power. It's knowing when to open the door a crack, not leaving it wide open in a storm. You can be real without being raw. You can be honest without being heavy. The man who lives a Stoic life understands this. He knows when to speak and when to hold back. As Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Be the man who listens. Be the man who observes. Be the calm in her emotional storm, not the one who brings his own. That doesn't mean you fake happiness. It means you lead with strength. You show her you handle life, even when it's hard. That is attractive. That is masculine. That is mastery. Stoic lessons don't say to ignore pain. They say to transform it. You must become the man who's been through the fire but speaks like a mountain, unshaken, grounded, steady. You can touch on adversity, lightly, a story, a lesson, a moment of growth, but always end it on triumph. Don't spiral, don't dwell. Show her the scar, not the wound. Show her what it taught you, not what it took from you. Women are intuitive. They feel energy before they hear words. If your vibe says I'm drowning, she'll swim the other way. But if your vibe says I've seen darkness and I still rise, she'll lean in, because that's real strength. That's stoicism in action. That's what draws her in. Your calm, your resilience, your quiet fire. So yes, acknowledge your battles, but tell them like a warrior, not a victim. Be a man who conquers his chaos and keeps his heart intact. That is the way. That is art. That is the power of a man who lives the Stoic life. Topic 15. Ambitions. Self-improvement. Tier list misuse power. Avoid early. Ambition and self-improvement sound noble, and they are. But don't be fooled into thinking they make good early conversation. They don't. Not when the goal is attraction. Don't start talking about where you're going. Show who you are right now. Women are not inspired by potential. They respond to presence. That's the key. Don't say, I'm working on becoming successful. Say nothing. Be successful in how you carry yourself. That is Stoic. That is grounded. That is powerful. Marcus Aurelius didn't boast about what he might become. He embodied what he believed. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's the essence of Stoic principles. Don't try to impress with goals. Impress with stillness, confidence, and clarity. You must understand this when you lead with ambition. You sound like you're selling a future version of yourself. That's not attraction, that's auditioning. And women don't want to date your vision board. They want to feel your strength now. Not your dreams, your reality. That doesn't mean giving up self-improvement. On the contrary, keep building, keep rising. Just don't broadcast it. Don't talk about the mountain you're climbing. Walk like you already own the summit. That's the mark of a man who lives by Stoic principles. That's what pulls people in. Action over explanation. The modern Stoic doesn't overpromise. He demonstrates quietly, consistently, boldly. Let your results speak louder than your plans. Let your mindset show in your decisions. Let your lifestyle hint at your ambition, not scream it. Be decisive. Be disciplined. That's seductive. That's magnetic. And above all, don't seek validation through your hustle. Validation is earned through your calm, your energy, your ability to be fully present. Live like a man who's already enough. Not someday, now. That is the victory. That is the mastery. That is the wisdom of Stoic living. Topic 16. Money tier list avoid. Silent strength speaks louder. Money. Powerful in life, but perilous in conversation, especially with women you're just beginning to know. Don't talk about numbers. Don't mention salaries, stocks, or bank balances. That's not charisma, that's compensation. The modern Stoic knows this. He doesn't flaunt. He doesn't beg to be seen. He is seen simply because he moves through the world like a man who's built something solid. The old Stoic didn't seek validation through wealth. He let his composure, his habits, his lifestyle speak. You must do the same. Don't brag, don't boast, don't flex. Show, don't tell. The blessing of Stoicism lies in quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't chase attention but commands it. You don't need to announce that you're successful. Let your choices reveal it. Let the way you dress, speak, and behave Whisper what others feel the need to shout. Women aren't drawn to digits. They're drawn to dignity. When you start talking too much about what you have, you risk sliding into the provider category. And that's not where true desire lives. That's where obligation and expectation start breeding. Attraction is not a transaction. It's an experience, an energy, a pull. And that pull comes not from your wallet, but from your presence. Be the man who pays the bill without announcing it. Be the man who drives the car, not the man who needs everyone to see it. Be silent about what you've earned and generous in how you carry it. That is strength. That is discipline. That is the way of the modern Stoic. The blessing of Stoicism reminds you wealth is not to be worshipped, but wielded wisely. You're not here to impress with your money. You're here to express your essence, calm, capable, complete. You must build your fortune with fire, but wear it like air, effortless, weightless, natural. So don't talk about money. Live in a way that makes it obvious you don't have to. That is the difference. That is the edge. That is how a man of depth, discipline, and power makes his presence unforgettable. Topic 17. Past breakups, rejections, tier list, absolutely avoid, silent scars, strong shoulders. Talking about past breakups or rejections early on is like handing someone a manual on how not to desire you. Don't do it. Don't bleed on the table and call it intimacy. There's a fine line between being authentic and sabotaging. The moment you start explaining who left you, why they left, or how many times you've been ghosted or betrayed, you're not sharing strength. You're leaking insecurity. That is not the Stoic life. That is not how a man with inner gravity presents himself. A modern Stoic moves forward with lessons, not with leftovers. He doesn't whine about the past. He works through it, silently, deliberately. Stoic lessons teach us to see every loss as fuel, not a flaw. As Marcus Aurelius said, choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. That's not denial. That's control. That's power. And that's exactly what you must embody. Women are intuitive, emotional creatures. They're not judging your story logically. They're feeling it. And if the energy you bring is, I've been passed over, it subconsciously reads as I'm not chosen. That's a problem. Don't think for a second that you're earning sympathy. You're shrinking your presence. And attraction doesn't live in sympathy. It lives in certainty. You must be the man who is chosen because you choose yourself first. Be the man who carries scars without showcasing wounds, who's been through the storm and came out clean, not the man still soaked and explaining how it rained. The Stoic life is about dignity, about rising quietly, about holding space without filling it with apologies for your past. So don't talk about breakups. Don't talk about being dumped. Don't talk about rejection. Talk like a man who's been sharpened by the fire, not burned by it. Talk like someone who took the hit and kept walking. That's the blessing of Stoicism. It doesn't protect you from pain. It teaches you how to wear it like armor. Speak from strength. Live from stillness. Project value without asking for validation. Because the moment she senses you need to prove your worth, you've already lost it. Be unshakable. Be whole. Be the man who's been through heartbreak, but no longer bleeds. That is a Stoic life. That is power. That is how attraction is earned without trying. Topic 18. Relationships. Love. Sexual dynamics. Tier list: goated, high, leverage zone. This is where the real magic happens. Talking about love, attraction, sexual dynamics. Don't avoid it. Lean in. This is your moment to shift from surface, level chatter into deep, magnetic conversation. It's not just allowed, it's essential. You must guide the conversation into this territory with confidence, not caution. Women want to feel that you get the game, that you understand energy, chemistry, presence. That is the domain of the modern Stoic, not cold or distant, but fully alive, grounded, intentional. When she opens up about what she likes in a partner, listen, study, reflect. That's where the clues are. That's where the dance begins. As Marcus Aurelius said, the soul becomes dyed with the colour of its thoughts, and when your thoughts are bold, playful, and present, your energy becomes undeniable. Don't talk like a robot. Don't overthink. Just feel it. Be direct. Be light. Be teasing. Ask her what turns her on emotionally, mentally, even physically, without shame. That's not creepy when done right. That's connection. Real attraction is built on tension. You must create it, not through neediness, but through bold curiosity and masculine control. That's how you shift the tone. That's how you escalate. Stoic principles aren't about repressing desire. They're about owning it without letting it own you. Speak like a man who's comfortable in his skin, clear in his intent, and respectful in his approach. You're not trying to impress. You're inviting her to feel, let's be clear, this topic isn't optional. It's the test. Can you flirt? Can you stay calm under pressure? Can you lead the emotional tempo? This is where many men fold. Don't be that man. Be the one who brings both heat and harmony, who knows when to speak softer and when to hold her gaze longer, who can ask, what do you look for in a man, and make it feel electric, not clinical. That is your edge. That is your power. That is Stoicism in motion, not detached, but deeply attuned, fiercely centered. A Stoic doesn't chase attraction, he ignites it. That's how you win. That's how you master the moment. That is how the modern Stoic builds desire, without saying too much, but always meaning every word. All right, fellas, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you want better conversations with women, here's the real deal. Keep it light, keep it fun, and don't overthink it. Play around a bit, tease her, share a laugh, flirt a little. That's where the magic happens. And unless you're deep into something serious with her already, steer clear of the heavy, emotional topics. Most guys get stuck trying to say the right thing. Forget that. Just talk about yourself, your stories, your thoughts, your take on things. That's how she actually gets to know the real you. Hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Catch you in the next one. Stay sharp, stay real. Peace. Believe it or not, when she doesn't call or text you, it means modern stoic. Silence is a source of great strength. Lao Tzu. There's a certain kind of silence that speaks louder than any argument or conversation. If you've ever sent a message and waited, only to be met with nothing, you know exactly what I mean. She doesn't reply. Maybe she leaves you on read. Maybe she doesn't open it at all. And then your mind starts doing its worst work, replaying every detail, guessing every word, rewriting entire moments. Was it something I said? Did I move too fast? Is she done and just not saying it? That gnawing uncertainty, it's not just annoying. It's painful. It shakes your confidence and steals your peace. But here's what most men don't realize: silence isn't absence. It's presence in another form. And often, it's more revealing than anything she could have said. Her not reaching out. That's a message. One filled with intention, emotion, and clarity. If you know how to read it, this isn't about playing games or overanalyzing every move. And it's definitely not about begging for attention. In this video, we'll go deeper. We'll break down what silence really means, emotionally, psychologically, and even philosophically. Through the lens of modern Stoicism, we'll explore how to approach this kind of situation not with desperation, but with strength, wisdom, and grounded clarity. You'll learn how to respond, not react, and why mastering that subtle difference can change everything. By the end, you won't just understand her silence, you'll understand yourself better too, because when you stop chasing answers, you start hearing what silence was trying to tell you all along. One, the silence isn't always negative. Believe it or not, when she doesn't call or text you back, it doesn't always mean what your gut reaction tells you. Don't fall for that familiar trap, that old voice in your head, The one that's quick to whisper she's done with you? Yeah, that one. It's lying. The silence. It isn't always a verdict. In fact, sometimes it's got nothing to do with you at all. You must understand not every pause is a problem. Not every lull is a loss. A modern Stoic knows this, and he doesn't flinch when the phone stays quiet. Why? Because he's anchored. He knows that emotional withdrawal, especially early on, can be part of her rhythm, not a signal of rejection. Women often communicate in waves, not the steady, predictable kind men are used to, but the kind that ebb and flow with emotion, thought, and timing. She's not ghosting you. She might be overwhelmed. Maybe she's working through her own stuff, taking space that feels natural to her. Or yes, maybe even wrestling with feelings that scare her because they're strong. The old Stoic in you might want to react, to chase, to fix. Don't. Be better than your impulses. Be still. That's the blessing of Stoicism. Now here's where modern culture kicks you in the ribs. We've all been spoon-fed this idea that replies must be instant, that validation should show up faster than a delivery pizza. But real human connection doesn't always operate on that bandwidth, especially not a romantic connection, especially not in the beginning when everything is still uncertain and fragile. Think deeper. Communication isn't always transactional. Men tend to see it that way. We send a message, we expect a return, simple input, output logic. But women, as Deborah Tannen and others have shown, often operate from a relational framework. Their silence isn't a void, it's a space to breathe, to feel, to be. That silence might mean she's protecting her heart. It might mean she's waiting for the right words. Or it might simply mean she's living her life. Don't misread it. And more importantly, don't fill it with your own insecurities. You panic. You start wondering what you did wrong. You spiral into fix mode. You send that second text, maybe even a third. You try to fill in the blanks with assumptions. That is exactly where things go sideways. Because now, instead of being grounded in presence, you're dancing with fear. And fear never looks attractive. The modern Stoic doesn't need a reply to feel secure. He knows his worth is not tied to a timestamp or a read receipt. He embraces the silence not as rejection, but as reflection. He uses that space to observe himself. Why am I so uncomfortable with not knowing? What does this say about me? That kind of inner interrogation. That's the real strength. That's where the blessing of Stoicism lives, in the ability to hold your own center while the world offers no answers. So here's your command: don't react. Don't chase. Don't make her silent about you. Be the old Stoic with modern wisdom, quiet, calm, composed. Let her come to you when she's ready. If she never does, you've still kept your dignity. And if she does, she'll be meeting a man who didn't crumble at the first test of uncertainty. That's not just attractive, that's powerful. 2. The Stoic response to uncertainty. When she doesn't call or text you back, don't panic, don't spiral, don't waste your energy checking your phone 100 times or replaying every word you said. Stop, breathe, return to yourself. That's the Stoic response to uncertainty. That's the path of power. Marcus Aurelius didn't waste a moment wondering why someone didn't send a message. He mastered himself instead. And that's exactly what you must do. Her silence is not a rejection. It's not a crisis. It's not even personal. It's an event. Neutral, meaningless, until you assign it meaning. And here's the truth. You control the meaning. You decide whether that silence breaks you or builds you. You decide whether you become a man of reaction or a man of restraint. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's the heartbeat of Stoic principles. You cannot control her behavior, you cannot control her choices, but you can absolutely, completely control your response. That's your arena. That's where your victory lies. When you sit in silence and choose calm over chaos, you win. When you don't text back out of fear or desperation, you win. When you allow uncertainty to exist without letting it rattle your center, you rise above the average man. Because the average man needs closure, reassurance, a signal. The Stoic man, you, need only your own discipline. Don't chase what's not yours. Don't interpret absence as a verdict on your worth. Let her silence echo without needing to fill it. Let it test your inner strength. This is what Stoic mastery looks like in modern life. It's not just philosophy, it's your operating system, your edge. In the age of constant communication and dopamine-driven neediness, true stillness is rare, stillness is power, stillness is magnetic. Most men don't know how to just be, but you must. You must learn to sit without knowing, and you must learn to love it. That silence, it's not a void, it's a mirror. It reveals where you stand with yourself, and if you stand tall there, you become untouchable. That is how you earn respect, from her, from the world, and from yourself. That is how you live as a modern Stoic. Stoicism is not about passivity. It's about presence. It's about strength under pressure, composure in the storm, clarity when emotions are screaming for control. Marcus Aurelius didn't beg for signs. He looked inward. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the blueprint. That's the standard. Don't waver. Don't break. Use every unanswered message as a lesson in self-mastery. Use every moment of silence as training. This is your arena. This is how you become unshakable. You don't need her attention to be centered. You don't need her validation to stand tall. You are not defined by her presence or her absence. You are defined by your principles, by your discipline, by how you carry yourself when no one is watching. That is the modern Stoic mindset. Let the other men scramble. Let them text out of fear, doubt, and emotional chaos. You lead with stillness. You choose restraint. You own your mind. And in doing so, you win. Every time. If you're tired of letting silence shake your confidence, it's time to rise above. A true modern Stoic doesn't chase answers. He chooses presence over panic, clarity over chaos. And if you feel that shift within you, drop this in the comments right now. Her silence is my signal to return to myself. Like this video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, you don't need closure from her, you need composure from you. 3. Her silence often tests your emotional strength. When she doesn't call or text you, your instinct may tell you it's rejection, but that's not always the truth. More often than not, her silence is a test, not a cruel or manipulative trick, but an unconscious check for emotional strength. Women, whether they realize it or not, test not with words, but with behavior, by pulling back, going quiet, slowing communication, and in that stillness, they're not asking you to chase. They're asking a deeper question. Can you hold your center without my reassurance? This is what psychologists call a comfort test. And it's rooted in something much older than modern dating. It's biological. From an evolutionary standpoint, women are wired to seek emotional security, and emotional strength is the signal they're looking for. That strength isn't found in charm, wealth, or even physical dominance. It's found in composure. If a few hours of silence send you spiraling into anxiety, you're communicating instability. But if you remain grounded, present, and unbothered, you communicate something far more valuable: emotional safety. And here's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoic life teaches you not to be ruled by what's outside your control. Her silence, that's out of your hands, but your response, that's 100% yours. The Stoic man does not panic when validation is withdrawn. He doesn't crumble at the first sign of distance. He pauses, he breathes, he returns to himself, and that stillness, that quiet confidence, is louder and more attractive than any flurry of texts or emotional outbursts. We've been trained as men to react, to fix, to chase what pulls away, but those who live by Stoic lessons know that strength often looks like stillness. It's the ability to sit with uncertainty without demanding closure, to know that your worth isn't determined by her attention, but by your ability to stay rooted when nothing is guaranteed. That's what separates boys from men. When she goes silent, don't interpret it as a verdict. See it for what it is, a mirror. It reflects who you are in moments of uncertainty. Are you needy? Are you reactive? Or are you calm, composed, and self-validated? The Stoic doesn't need to prove anything. He knows who he is. And in that knowing, he becomes the kind of man women are instinctively drawn to. Not because he's playing games, but because he offers the one thing that truly attracts peace. And here's the deeper truth. This isn't just about her. This is about you. Her silence is the training ground for your evolution. It's not a punishment. It's an invitation to step into your strength, to learn what it means to live a stoic life where your emotions serve you, not sabotage you. So don't text, don't chase, don't crumble. Be the man who stands still and lets the storm pass. That's power. That's presence. That's stoicism. If this strikes a chord deep within you, comment below. Her silence tests me, but I stand unshaken. Let the world know you're not just surviving the silence, you're mastering it. 4. If you chase her silence, you lose. Don't kid yourself. When she goes quiet, it means something. And believe it or not, when she doesn't call or text, it isn't always because she's too busy or confused. Sometimes, silence is the message. Now, here's where most men trip over their own pride. They rush in, desperate to fix the silence. Double texts, sad, eyed apologies, the ever pitiful just checking in. Stop. That's not strength. That's insecurity wearing cologne. The brutal truth. The more you chase her silence, the louder it gets. Every needy ping you send echoes with the sound of respect slipping away. You think you're reconnecting. She feels you tugging. And nobody, man or woman, likes to feel tugged at. That isn't intimacy. That's pressure. Why does this happen? It's simple psychology. Wrapped in what modern Stoics have known for centuries, people recoil when their autonomy feels invaded. This is called reactance, and it's as old as human nature itself. You think you're showing care, but if she's pulled back and you barge forward, she doesn't feel seen, she feels smothered. And here's the kicker: by pursuing, you unwittingly give her emotional authority. You're waiting on her cue, her approval, her attention. That's not power, that's passive submission. And nothing, absolutely nothing, deflates attraction like a man begging silently for permission to matter. The modern Stoic understands this. He doesn't flinch at discomfort. He doesn't fill every void with words. He honors space, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because he knows his value isn't dependent on a reply. It's rooted in his presence, not his persistence. When you chase silence, you hand her the reins. When you embrace it, you show you still hold your own. That's the blessing of Stoicism, restraint that radiates strength. Don't confuse withdrawal with weakness. Don't mistake quiet with loss. Sometimes, the most commanding statement a man can make is no statement at all. So next time she pulls back, don't chase. Don't hover like a satellite waiting for a signal. Be the mountain, not the man sending flares from the valley. Let her feel your absence, not as punishment, but as proof that you are not dependent on her presence to feel whole. That's the old Stoic way, firm, composed, and unshaken. And in that space, where most men rush to fill the silence, you wait, you watch, you hold the line. Because a man who truly values himself doesn't beg to be noticed. He knows he already is. And sometimes, that quiet confidence does more to stir her heart than 1,000 frantic texts ever could. Be still. Be certain. Be rare. That's what makes you unforgettable. If this hit home, like the video, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more real, grounded insight from the modern Stoic perspective. Comment to remember, silence isn't weakness. It's where a modern Stoic regains his strength. 5. What you should do instead. When she goes quiet, when the phone stays dark and her silence echoes louder than any argument, don't chase. Center yourself. Don't beg. Don't guess. Don't scroll through her social media like a desperate man looking for scraps of attention. That's not power. That's not presence. That's not you. A modern Stoic does not crumble under silence. He strengthens. Marcus Aurelius, the great Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When she stops texting, don't start doubting. Don't spiral into anxiety. Instead, anchor yourself deeper in your purpose. Stop giving your mental energy to what you cannot control. Reclaim it. Redirect it. Refocus it. That's the Stoic path. That's where power lives. Don't check her Instagram. Don't count the hours since her last message. Don't dissect her silence like it's a code to crack. That's a weakness in disguise. That's dependence. You must flip the frame. Instead of asking, "Why isn't she calling?" ask yourself, "Where am I slacking in my mission?" That silence, it's not a punishment. It's a prompt, a brutal, beautiful reminder to return to your foundation, your mind, your body, your goals. Use the silence like the Stoics used hardship as fuel. Go train your body until it hurts. Go build a business. Write the book, start the project, clean your space, fix your posture, fix your habits. Do the work that reflects a man in control of himself. Let her silence remind you of what you've been ignoring. That's the true Stoic principle. Discipline over distraction. Let's be clear. This isn't about pretending not to care. It's about actually not needing to chase validation. There's no victory in waiting by the phone. There's no strength in hoping she reaches out. There's power in motion, movement, action. Become a man whose life is so rich, so grounded, so purposeful, that her absence feels like a passing cloud, not a thunderstorm. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, act like one, live like one. This is your training ground. This is your edge. Most men obsess. Most men wait. You must rise. Journal not to complain, but to gain clarity. Train not to escape, but to embody your inner strength. Build not to fill the silence, but to create a life that speaks so loud, you no longer notice who's quiet." That is the essence of the modern Stoic. Not a man who numbs himself, not a man who becomes cold, but a man who masters himself through fire, solitude, and focus. Her silence doesn't diminish you, it reveals you. And when you respond like a grounded, mission-driven man, you ascend. Confidence becomes automatic. Presence becomes magnetic. Women feel that shift without a single word spoken, because you're not standing still anymore. You're leading. You're moving forward. You're not a man who waits. You're a man who acts. A man who lives by Stoic principles, who knows that self-control is the gateway to freedom. Don't beg. Don't wait. Don't explain. Build. Move. Win. Be unshakable. Be undeniable. Be the modern Stoic. 6. If she returns, you're still in control. When she finally breaks the silence and hits you with a casual, "Hey, how have you been?" or worse, slides back in with a random meme like nothing ever happened. Don't lose your footing. Don't explode with relief. Don't flood her inbox like you've been emotionally stranded on an island and she just threw you a life raft. That's not strength. That's surrender. And let's be honest, my friend, you're better than that now. If you've spent the silence wisely, practicing Stoicism, reclaiming your time, rebuilding your focus, and living your life like a man who's not defined by a text message, then you already know you're not waiting. You're choosing, and that changes everything. This is where most men drop the ball. The moment she reaches out, they either become a puppy wagging his tail or a bitter storm cloud, trying to guilt her for vanishing. But both responses say the same thing: "I wasn't okay without you." That's not power. That's attachment. Real Stoic life means real self, mastery. Remember what the Stoic lessons teach us. He who angers you conquers you, and likewise, he who defines your mood by a ding on your phone owns you. That's not where you want to live. Not anymore. You've built too much. You've risen too far. If you've used the silence to reconnect with your mission, reframe your values, and reinforce yourself, respect, then you're not emotionally starving when she returns. You're well, fed, grounded, and crystal clear. So how do you respond calmly? Clearly, like a man who lives by stoicism, not spikes of dopamine. A simple line. Hey, good to hear from you. I've been keeping busy with some new things. Isn't cold. It's confident. It's not distant. It's discerning. It tells her I didn't break while you were gone. I evolved. I expanded. And if you want to reconnect, it's going to happen on solid, honest, intentional ground, not emotional leftovers. Let's be direct. You're not ignoring her unless you've truly decided she doesn't belong on your new path, but you don't chase either. You've come too far for that. Stoic life isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally wise. You've done the work, you've journaled, you've trained, you've grown, and now her return is just another variable, not your center. You don't owe anyone your emotional home just because they knocked on the door again. You choose who enters. That's power. That's peace. That's stoicism. And here's the twist she never saw coming. Peace is more haunting than anger. Most people expect their absence to leave you aching. When it doesn't. When you respond with grounded grace instead of guilt or need. That's when the real questions start in her mind. What changed? What did I lose? That's the power of a man who doesn't need validation, but invites respect. That's the core of Stoic lessons. You didn't wait for her. You moved forward. And now you stand tall, not because she returned, but because you never left yourself. So don't beg, don't scold, don't pretend nothing happened either. Be balanced, be warm but clear. Be the man who remembers who he is even when she forgets. That is the Stoic life. That is control. That is how you win. Not over her, but over yourself. 7. Her silence reveals your attachment style. When she doesn't call or text you, don't just sit there spiraling. Pause and pay attention. That's silence. It's not just her pulling away. It's a mirror. And what it reflects back is your attachment style. Are you panicking? Obsessively checking your phone, replaying your last words, thinking you did something wrong? Then you're not dealing with her silence. You're wrestling with your own ghosts. That fear, that urgency to fix things, that storm of neediness. That's not her. That's the anxious little boy inside you, still chasing connection to feel worthy. Don't blame her for the echo chamber of your own insecurities. Be honest. That pull to fix it immediately. That's not strength. That's unhealed pain, screaming for validation. The old Stoic would have told you, disturbance lies not in events, but in our perception of them. The blessing of Stoicism is that it doesn't ask you to ignore emotion, it demands you master it. Modern Stoic men know silence isn't an emergency, it's a signal. And how you respond reveals everything about the man you've become. Now contrast that chaos with the man who's grounded. He doesn't rush to text. He doesn't stalk social media for clues. He notices the silence. Yes, he feels it, but he doesn't drown in it. He sits with discomfort, observes anxiety like a passing storm, not a permanent reality. This man, he's cultivated secure attachment. He knows his worth doesn't hang on a message bubble. He doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. He reflects. He recalibrates. And if the silence stretches too long, he moves forward, not out of spite, but from self-respect. That's the modern Stoic way. Don't confuse numbness with strength. Real strength is being fully aware of the ache and choosing not to react blindly to it. You must stop treating every unanswered text like a verdict on your value. It's not. Her silence is a test, yes, but not of her feelings. It's a test of your foundation. Don't fall into the trap of trying to win her back through desperation. That's emotional gambling. Be better than that. Use this moment as a lens, not a leash. Ask yourself, why does this silence hurt so much? What wound is it touching? And how long have you let that run the show? You must get curious about your pain, not enslaved by it. The blessing of Stoicism is that it makes you responsible for your own reactions. Not hers, not anyone else's. The old Stoic wasn't detached. He was disciplined. You don't need to be cold, you need to be composed. Learn to love from a place of fullness, not fear. Her silence isn't cruelty, it's clarity. A moment to meet yourself at the edge of discomfort and ask, am I reacting? Or responding? There's a world of difference. One keeps you stuck, the other sets you free. So next time she goes quiet, don't chase, don't collapse, and don't create stories that don't exist. Be still, be sovereign. Be the modern Stoic she didn't expect, but the one she might respect. 8. The way you wait reveals who you are. Not a punishment, not a rejection, just a quiet pause in the noise of connection. And what do you do in that pause that says everything about you? Don't be fooled by the illusion of playing it cool. So many men think they're holding their value by not texting first. They sit in silence like it's a strategy, but inside, they're checking their phone every 10 minutes, heart skipping at every notification, trying not to seem desperate while feeling exactly that. That's not Stoicism. That's suffering in costume. The truth. The way you wait reveals who you are. It's not about what she's doing. It's about what you're doing when she's doing nothing. A Stoic man doesn't wait like a statue. He waits like a warrior. He doesn't just pass time. He uses it. The space between messages becomes a forge, while others scroll endlessly or sink into self-doubt. He trains. He sharpens. He reads. He works. He reflects. He steps further into his purpose. He doesn't ask, when will she text me? He asks, what can I build today? That is the Stoic life, where every quiet moment is an invitation to grow. And if she returns, she's not coming back to the same man. No, she'll be facing someone who evolved, someone who didn't sit idle, hoping to be chosen, someone who became the chooser. That's the blessing of stillness, if you know how to use it. Don't kid yourself. Your silence isn't powerful just because it exists. It only holds weight if it's filled with substance. If all you're doing is brooding and overthinking, then you're not being silent, you're being stuck. You must act. You must rise. Because this isn't just about her decision. It's about yours. Will you let your emotions make you weak, or will you use this discomfort as fuel? The Stoic lessons teach us that we don't control what others do, but we control how we respond. And in that control lies freedom. You're not just waiting for a message. You're standing at the edge of who you were and deciding who you'll be next. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the core of Stoicism. It's not apathy, it's alchemy. Turning confusion into clarity, turning waiting into working, turning longing into leadership. Be the man who makes silence sacred, not scary, who sees time as a tool, not a trap, who transforms distance into discipline. So next time she goes quiet, don't sit there like a statue in emotional limbo. Be in motion, be intentional, be the better man. Whether she comes back or not, you win, because you used the waiting to walk closer to your higher self. That's not just attractive, that's unstoppable. That's a Stoic life. 9. Don't confuse her silence with your insecurity. When she doesn't call, when she doesn't text, when the silence stretches longer than you expect, don't panic, don't spiral, don't start telling yourself a story that doesn't exist. That silence is not an insult. It is not a betrayal. It is not proof that you are unworthy. It is neutral. It is silent. The only thing causing your pain is how you choose to interpret it. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius warned us long ago, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. That quote isn't just philosophy, it's a lifeline. Most of your emotional suffering doesn't come from her. It comes from your own mind, from insecurity, from ego, from the imagined fear that you're not enough, that she's gone, that you're being replaced. None of those thoughts are facts. They're fictions your mind invents when you forget who you are. So let's be clear, her silence is not your enemy. Your interpretation is, that is the battlefield. And you must win that war. You must stop giving power to fear. You must stop writing tragic scripts in your head. Her silence. That's your opportunity to become stronger. That's your challenge to grow. That's your reminder to return to yourself. This is where Stoic principles come into play. A modern Stoic doesn't chase answers. He doesn't beg for validation. He doesn't break down every time someone else doesn't meet his expectations. He stands. He breathes. He endures. You must learn to sit with the silence and master your reaction. That is real power. That is real masculinity. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is space. And space is the arena where confidence is forged. Don't seek her signal to validate your worth. Don't hand over yourself. Respect in exchange for a text message. If your identity shatters every time she doesn't reply, then your identity was built on sand. Rebuild it. Strengthen it. Fortify your mind, like the Stoics taught. You have power over your mind, Marcus Aurelius said, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not just wisdom, that's your battle plan. Use it. Every time she doesn't reply, let that be your trigger to reclaim control, to stop chasing, to start standing taller, to cut the mental noise and return to reason. Let silence refine you, not destroy you. Let's not get it twisted. This isn't about ignoring reality. It's about facing it like a man. It's about using Stoic principles to break the cycle of emotional dependency. Let her silence sharpen your focus, not dull your sense of self. Let it be the training ground for mental clarity. Let it push you back into alignment with your own values. Don't waste time inventing stories. Use that time to build discipline, to grow, to conquer. That's how the modern Stoic lives. He leads himself first. He walks with purpose, not permission. So when she doesn't call, doesn't text, doesn't reach out, doesn't crumble, don't guess, don't fear, stand still, breathe deep, think clearly. Let silence be your teacher. Let it echo yourself, control, your power, your peace. That is how you win. That is how you master life. That is what it means to be a Stoic. If this message hits home, don't just scroll, own it. Like the video. Share it with a brother who needs to hear this today, and hit subscribe for more modern Stoic wisdom. The silence isn't your enemy, it's your mirror. Comment below to lock it in. I choose clarity over fear. Let that be your daily reminder. You're not here to chase shadows, you're here to build strength. Alright, fellas? That's it for today. Good to connect with you. Let me leave you with this. When she doesn't call or text, it's not a crisis. It's a checkpoint, a moment to remember who you are. You don't need to chase what pulls away. You need to stay solid, stay grounded, and trust that the right people don't require pressure to stay close. That calm you hold, that's your power. That's what makes you stand out, not just to her, but to the world. So next time silence shows up, don't flinch, don't fold, just breathe, and keep building the life that calls you forward. Stay steady, stay sharp, stay stoic, appreciate you being here, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next one. Women will do this when you stop contacting her. Modern Stoic. Sometimes silence is the most powerful scream. Anonymous. You've gone quiet. Maybe you meant to. Maybe life just drifted that way. Either way, the messages have stopped, and now you're left with a quiet screen and an even louder mind. You wonder what she's thinking, if she's even noticed. Most men assume that when they stop reaching out, she simply moves on. Clean break. Case closed. But that's not how it works, not when there was something real. Women often feel silence more intensely than words, especially when emotion and vulnerability were part of the connection. Your absence isn't just a missing text, it's a presence of its own. And that absence echoes. This isn't about manipulation or emotional games. It's about self-awareness, about understanding how silence, when rooted in strength and clarity, not anger or insecurity, speaks volumes. Modern Stoicism doesn't mean shutting down or becoming numb. It means standing in your own emotional sovereignty. It means recognizing that restraint is not weakness, it's discipline. And when you withdraw contact from a place of peace rather than pain, you shift the dynamic. At first, she might not react, but if the connection was real, she would feel it. And what she does next, how she behaves in the face of your absence, reveals everything. Not just about her feelings for you, but about her emotional maturity. So before you reach for your phone just to test the waters or ease your discomfort, ask yourself, are you seeking clarity or just reassurance? Let her response be your answer. And once you learn to read the quiet, you'll never be caught off guard by the noise again. 1. She starts watching you silently. When you stop reaching out to a woman, something begins to happen that many men overlook. She starts to watch you. It's not in an obvious, direct way. You won't get a text saying, "I miss you," or "What's up?" No, it's far more subtle, almost sneaky. Suddenly, she's revisiting your Instagram stories, a place where she hasn't shown interest in weeks or even months. Every post, every story, you'll notice she's there. It's not just a random check. She watches, lingers, sometimes double taps on old posts. Maybe you post a gym selfie, and out of nowhere, she likes it, but not the one from today. No, she's digging through your feed, going back a week or two. She's looking at the past, re-examining everything. That's not coincidence. That's not a simple scroll. That's a breadcrumb trail of curiosity. It's her way of peering into your life from a safe distance, without putting herself in a vulnerable position. Now, most guys make the mistake of thinking this means something. It's easy to assume. She's watching my stories again? Maybe she wants to talk. But that's where you're wrong. It's important to grasp what's actually happening here. When you go silent, you create a space, a vacuum, and in that vacuum, she starts to feel the void left by your absence. And here's the thing. People don't like the unknown, and women, especially those who once had emotional access to you, are going to try to figure out what's going on. They won't jump in and risk vulnerability. Instead, they'll find ways to keep tabs on you. They'll quietly observe, but never step in. Social media provides the perfect low-risk window for this. She doesn't have to send you a message, doesn't have to put herself out there. She can simply check if you've moved on, if you're in pain, or if you've replaced her. It's all rooted in a powerful psychological mechanism, human connection. That dopamine loop you once shared is now interrupted, and her mind is left searching for ways to reignite that connection, even if it's passive. This is where most guys miss the mark. They read too much into her actions and think this silent watching is an invitation to break the silence. She viewed my story twice. Maybe she wants to talk. But don't be fooled. You're falling into the trap of thinking that her passive actions are a cue for you to act. When you break the silence too soon, when you send that message too quickly, you undo all the power you've been quietly building. You destroy the mystique, the strength, and the sense of value you've been cultivating. Don't make that mistake. Her watching you is not a sign to reach out. It's a reaction, not an invitation. It means your absence is being felt. That's the first sign that your silence is having an impact. Let her watch. Let her wonder. Because when she realizes you're no longer chasing her, when she realizes that you're no longer desperate for her attention, her perception of your value will start to shift, not in an immediate, dramatic way, but quietly, subtly, and unmistakably. She'll begin to see you differently. The second you stop chasing, her perception of you changes. She begins to realize that your value is not tied to her approval. You're no longer playing the game of constantly seeking her validation. Your silence makes her question everything. Has he moved on? Is he doing better without me? Is he stronger than I thought? This shift in her perception is key. And it's here where the philosophy of a modern Stoic becomes crucial. A modern Stoic understands that true value doesn't come from seeking attention, from being constantly available or showing desperation. No, the blessing of Stoicism teaches us that real power is found in maintaining your peace, your sense of self, without needing to constantly prove it. The old Stoic sages taught us to live independently of external influences. They knew that by maintaining composure in the face of uncertainty, we could preserve our integrity. This is exactly what you are doing. By stepping back, by creating that silence, you are practicing the principles of modern Stoicism. You're not swayed by her actions, nor are you desperate for her responses. You are unaffected by the ups and downs of her emotions. You are simply living your life, unaffected by her approval or disapproval. This absence of pursuit is where your true strength lies, and it's exactly what will make her begin to wonder, has he changed? Has he moved on? Am I still important to him, or am I just another part of his past? This is the magic of silence, the power it gives you. The space it creates for her to question her own feelings and actions. Let her watch, let her wonder, because when she realizes that your value doesn't come from her attention, that's when she starts to see you for who you truly are. Not the man who chases, but the man who stands firm, unshaken, like the modern Stoic you've become. 2. She tests your emotional control. Once she realizes you're no longer reaching out, no longer chasing, and definitely not begging for her attention, something shifts. She starts to get curious. But curiosity alone doesn't satisfy the ego. She needs confirmation. She needs to know that her absence or lack of communication is still causing some emotional ripples. So, what does she do next? She tests your emotional control. This test can come in many forms. It might be something as random as a "hey" text at midnight or a weird emoji that doesn't make any sense. Sometimes it even takes the form of a wrong number message, one that says, "Oops, meant to send that to someone else." Sure, totally believable, but don't be fooled. These aren't just random texts, they're bait. She's looking to see if you'll break. She wants to know if your silence was real or just some temporary performance to get her attention. Now, this is where the Stoic lessons start to matter. If you respond instantly, if you act like you've been waiting for her message, if you get hooked by the bait, then in her mind, she's still the one holding the emotional control. She still has the power in the dynamic. But here's the deal. That's where Stoicism comes into play, and it separates the boys from the men. A Stoic man doesn't flinch. He sees the test for what it is, a probe, not an olive branch. It's not a genuine attempt at reconnection, but a reflex to regain the emotional leverage she may have lost. And let me be clear about this. It doesn't mean she's evil or manipulative. No, it means she's human. People, in general, don't like losing control, especially when it comes to emotional dynamics. The ego doesn't take kindly to the loss of attention, so she'll send out these signals, like a flare, hoping to provoke a response. It's all about seeing if she can still reel you in. When she doesn't get the response she expects, that's when the real shift happens. That's when the game changes. Now, here's the most critical part. If you react, even politely, you break the frame. You confirm to her that she still has access to your emotions, that she still has the power to affect your emotional state. And just like that, the balance shifts back in her favor. You're no longer in control, but you must resist. Hold the line. Let the message sit there, unread, unanswered. You're not ghosting her. No, you're not playing childish games. You're simply not rushing to validate a vague attempt at connection. By holding firm and letting the message lie, you send a message far more powerful than any quick response ever could. You're showing her, without uttering a word, that you're not emotionally available on demand. That is Stoic living in its purest form. You're not looking for validation from her. You've learned to control your emotions, to guard them as if they're treasures, rather than letting someone else decide when or how they should be triggered. When she sees that you're not emotionally flinching, not scrambling to decode her every emoji or read between the lines of her cryptic messages, that's when the respect begins to grow. Your silence, your emotional control, has transitioned from a passive state to a powerful one. Your calmness, your poise, your restraint are all signs of strength. In fact, for many women, This level of emotional self-sufficiency is far more attractive than any good morning text you could send. It's a quiet power, a reminder that you are emotionally independent, a quality that is incredibly magnetic. What you're doing here is living the Stoic life. The teachings of Stoicism emphasize the importance of controlling what you can, the way you react, the way you maintain your inner peace, your emotional composure. By not reacting to her attempts at testing you, you're practicing one of the core principles of Stoicism, not letting external circumstances dictate your internal state. This is the Stoic power at work. It's about being present, calm, and unshaken, no matter what external distractions or provocations come your way. So, remember, don't break under the pressure. The silence is your power. Let her wonder, let her test, and let her learn that you are no longer emotionally available at her whim. You've mastered your emotions, and that mastery, that Stoic control, is far more compelling than any temporary validation could ever be. And if you understand the power of emotional control, drop a comment right now. I am the Stoic who stands strong. Like this video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, silence isn't weakness, it's strength. 3. She doubts her decision. When you stop contacting her, something crucial happens. She doubts her decision. At first, it's the curiosity that stirs her, that small test of whether you'll chase or if you'll even bother to reach out. Then comes the doubt. The silence, the absence of your attention, shakes her sense of security. In this void, her mind begins to fill the blanks. And this is where psychology takes over. Initially, there may be relief, perhaps even a fleeting sense of pride as she imagines you'll be the one crawling back. But the high of that initial satisfaction fades quickly. Beneath her ego, the emotional brain begins to stir. And that emotional brain, it's wired for certainty. It doesn't like emptiness, especially when it's used to being at the center of your world. So, when the silence lingers, doubt starts to creep in. She starts questioning, did I make the right choice? Was I too hasty? And that's where the regret begins. You see, in moments like these, the human psyche is inclined to reassess decisions when the outcome doesn't align with expectations. She might have expected you to chase her, to beg for another chance, but you didn't, and that's when the real psychological process begins. Suddenly, the space she thought she wanted feels too empty. Silence reveals a truth she wasn't prepared for. Your absence. Behavioral psychology confirms this when people are accustomed to a dopamine rush, like the emotional highs from attention, and that rush vanishes. They go through a form of withdrawal. It's subtle, but it's powerful. This withdrawal forces her to reflect. She starts recalling the way you used to check in, how you made her feel secure, the presence you once brought into her life. Now, she's questioning herself, did I overreact? Was he really that bad? What if I misread everything? It's not that she suddenly sees you as perfect. It's that her absence of your presence leaves her with no new information to justify her original choice. In the stillness, she starts to see her emotions more clearly, maybe even more clearly than when you were around. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting her true feelings back at her. And here's the twist: the longer you stay silent, the stronger the doubt grows. This is where the Stoic principles come into play. It's not about punishing her, nor is it about making her chase you. It's about maintaining your own sense of self-worth, your peace of mind, your emotional sovereignty. When Marcus Aurelius spoke of the importance of self-control, he wasn't just speaking to kings or warriors. He was speaking to anyone with the discipline to understand that silence, patience, and restraint often hold the power to reshape the situation. Sometimes, the only way someone truly appreciates your value is by experiencing life without it. You must remember, it's not about playing games. It's about mastering life. Your silence isn't a threat. It's a statement. It's a demonstration of your Stoic strength. When you stop chasing, you stop being ruled by the emotions and actions of others. The absence of your presence forces her to see what she's truly losing. It's this shift in perspective that will lead to the growth of doubt, regret, and a re-evaluation of her decision. And let's be clear, doubt doesn't fade quickly. The longer you remain unmoved, the deeper her reassessment will go. The Stoic mindset teaches that nothing is permanent. When we detach from external validation, when we stop chasing things outside of our control, we gain mastery over our emotional state and our life. You must be the stillness in the storm, the calm in the chaos. Let your actions speak volumes through silence. The more you embody this Stoic strength, the more you'll realize that mastering yourself is the true key to mastering life. As you continue to embrace these principles, you'll see the power of restraint, silence, and self-control. The world may never understand your decision to remain calm, but the truth is, the ones who need to understand will feel its impact most. Stand firm in your stoicism, and let her come to understand the value of what she almost lost. 4. She mirrors your distance, then breaks. When you stop contacting her, something shifts. She mirrors your behavior, as though she's waiting for you to blink first in a game neither of you should be playing. It's a predictable dance. She becomes distant because you have. The more you pull back, the more she does the same, mimicking your emotional distance to maintain some sense of control. If you're posting gym selfies, pumping out quotes about self-discipline, suddenly, she's right there with you, echoing your moves, as though it's some sort of competitive sport. The truth is, it's not a coincidence. She's not unaffected by the silence. Rather, she's testing the waters, trying to recalibrate herself and assess whether you'll flinch first. This is her attempt to match your emotional detachment, trying to bring the balance back into her own hands. What looks like indifference on the surface is actually a battle, a game of silent standoff where both of you are pretending to not care, but secretly hoping the other person will break. But let's be clear, the louder her external display, the deeper her internal struggle. If she were truly over it, she wouldn't need to mimic your behavior. She'd simply move on. What she's doing is psychological mimicry, a subconscious response to regulate emotional discomfort. Mirror neurons in the brain are at work here, responding to social cues, especially those of someone she once felt deeply connected to. So, while it may seem like she's winning the no-contact game, she's actually struggling to regain emotional balance. She wants to see if matching your distance will either break the silence or give her an advantage. This is a delicate dance, a moment of trying to take control of her emotions. But the deeper truth is this: it's not about winning, it's about seeing if you'll break. And when you don't, that's when the pressure starts to build. Don't mistake silence for strength. It's the beginning of something deeper. She's waiting for you to crack. It might not happen tomorrow. It might not happen next week. But trust me, when the weight of the silence becomes too much, the crack will appear. And when she finally reaches out, it won't be with grand declarations or dramatic confessions. It will be something subtle. Maybe a text like, "Hey, I saw something that reminded me of you," or "Just checking in. Hope you're good." Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't fall into old patterns. This small gesture, it's the crack in the mirror. It's her testing to see if you're still there, still care. This moment is the pivot point. How you respond will determine everything. If you rush in, filled with energy and urgency, you're just resetting the cycle, falling right back into the game. But if you stay calm, grounded, and indifferent, you shift the dynamic. The old patterns break. And she knows it. You've transformed the frame. Here's the kicker: when you adopt the mindset of a modern Stoic, you understand the art of emotional discipline. You realize that silence, when held with purpose, is not weakness, it's strength. The blessing of Stoicism lies in the ability to stay calm and collected in the face of emotional turmoil. This isn't about playing games. It's about mastering yourself and creating the space to let the other person break first. It's about the wisdom of the old Stoic understanding that you cannot control others, but you can control how you react to them. This approach, this Stoic calm, forces her to reckon with her own emotions. The mirror begins to crack, and she realizes that the game is over, not because she lost, but because you stopped playing. And if you find today's content very interesting, Please give me a word of encouragement by commenting "very interesting" in the comments section. That is a huge motivation for us. Thank you. 5. She tries to reclaim control. When you stop contacting her, a subtle but powerful shift begins. She starts to feel like she's losing emotional ground. If your silence hasn't provoked a reaction, if you haven't folded under the weight of her absence, she will inevitably reach for the last card in her emotional deck control. This time, it's not the cute texts, the subtle stories, or the soft manipulations she used to rely on. No, this time, it's sharp, reactive statements designed to throw you off balance. I guess you never really cared, or, wow, it didn't take you long to move on. These aren't just innocent expressions of hurt. These are psychological jabs meant to provoke a reaction, to pull you back into that familiar emotional cycle where she had the upper hand. At its core, this is an attempt to rewrite the narrative, to reclaim the emotional power she feels she's lost. But here's the catch: she doesn't want to start a dialogue. She's trying to provoke a reaction. These statements are designed to make you feel guilty, to make you question your own feelings, and most importantly, to regain control over you. This is where a lot of guys fall into the trap. Nobody likes being misunderstood or misrepresented. When she accuses you of being heartless or indifferent, your natural instinct is to defend yourself. You want to explain, to correct the misinterpretation, to prove that you do care. But here's the harsh truth: doing so hands the control right back to her. You may feel like you're offering a solution, but what you're really doing is giving her the emotional upper hand once again. A Stoic man sees through this. He understands that just because someone sends a message in pain, it doesn't mean you're obligated to absorb that pain. The Stoic life teaches you that emotions, both yours and others, can be powerful forces, but they don't control you. These sharp words aren't about you at all. They are about her. A reflection of her discomfort with your silence, her struggle to regain relevance in your life. She can't stand the stillness you've created, and that stillness has exposed her emotional dependency in a way she wasn't prepared for. Your silence didn't just create space, it made her confront her own vulnerability, a vulnerability she thought she could avoid. This is where Stoicism comes in. Instead of rushing to defend yourself, instead of falling into the trap of emotional manipulation, you remain composed, not cold, not cruel, just clear. You don't need to defend your peace. You don't owe an explanation for your silence. You're not ignoring her to win anything. You're simply no longer available for emotional manipulation. You've taken back control over your emotions and your reactions, and that is the true shift, the one that not only reclaims control, but restores your self-respect. By embracing the Stoic lessons of emotional discipline, you understand that silence is a powerful tool. It's not about trying to hurt her, it's about protecting your own peace. You see, the emotional space you've created has forced her to face her own uncertainty. She can't rely on her usual tactics anymore, because you've stopped engaging in the emotional back and forth that once fueled her power. And when you stay calm, composed, and unbothered, you break the cycle. This isn't about being manipulative or playing games. It's about taking the high road, about choosing to control yourself instead of being controlled by the emotions of others. That's the real blessing of Stoicism, the ability to stay grounded in the face of emotional turmoil and to remain firm in your own emotional autonomy. Be the Stoic man who knows that silence isn't weakness, it's strength, that by not reacting, by not rushing to explain yourself, you're setting the stage for something greater. You're setting the stage for respect, for emotional independence, and ultimately, for reclaiming the control you've always had over your own life. That is the power of living the Stoic life. That is the essence of the modern Stoic approach to relationships. 6. She respects you more, even if she never says it. When a woman stops hearing from you, when you no longer chase after her or react to her emotional turmoil, something powerful begins to happen. She may not say it out loud, may never acknowledge it, but deep down, she begins to respect you more. This shift happens not because you ignored her or won some battle, but because you remained unshaken in the face of her chaos. In a world where most men crumble the moment emotions run high, arguing, explaining, begging, or chasing, you did something rare. You stayed centered. The Stoic principles of composure and restraint in the face of emotional storms aren't just admirable, they're magnetic. She feels it, even if she doesn't fully understand why. When she sees you standing firm, unmoved by her tests, her mind and body register it as power. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, said Marcus Aurelius. And the calm, focused man who resists the emotional storms around him projects a strength that she can't help but respect. It's not about the outcome. It's about what you represent. You are the man who doesn't bend to the wind, the man who holds his ground, the man who doesn't chase validation. Women, by nature, are wired to seek emotional strength, whether they realize it or not. When you embody that strength, you set yourself apart from every other man who falters at the first sign of trouble, and that's when the respect begins to grow. The more stoic you are, the more respect you will earn, even if it's never verbalized. It doesn't mean she'll come rushing back, confessing her love, or begging for a second chance, but it does mean you've left an indelible mark on her. You've become the rare exception, the man who didn't beg, the man who didn't argue, the man who valued his peace over his pride. That memory stays with her, even if she never admits it. Every man who crumbles at her emotional tests only reinforces the contrast, the difference between the weak and the strong, and that shift in her perception, that deep respect, is far more powerful than any words you could have uttered in a moment of desperation. The truth is simple. You didn't need her approval. You showed her through your actions that you're grounded, solid, and unmoved by her chaos. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, Marcus Aurelius once said, and in this case, your silence, your strength, is the ultimate form of resilience. You've become the man who operates from a place of internal stability, not external validation. That is power. Whether or not she comes back is irrelevant. What matters is that you stopped proving yourself and, in doing so, earned her respect without ever asking for it. If you found this valuable, comment below and share it with someone who could benefit from this message. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful wisdom. Comment to remember, I am a man of unshakable strength and peace. 7. What you should do during no contact, the Stoic path. What should you do during a no-contact period? It's a common question that hits hard, especially after a long stretch of silence. But let's make this clear. No contact isn't about just sitting there, staring at your phone and hoping for something to happen. That's not Stoicism. That's emotional paralysis. Real Stoicism, modern Stoicism, is about active discipline. It's about taking this time to turn the focus back on you, not just passively waiting for her to notice you again. Here's the kicker. If you're not building yourself up during this period, you're not truly doing no contact. You're simply avoiding contact. And avoiding contact. That's a recipe for resentment and weakness, not transformation. This moment, the one you find yourself in now, is your opportunity to upgrade your life. Don't do it for her. Do it for yourself. Put your emotional energy where it will bring you the most benefit, into becoming the best version of yourself. Hit the gym. Break out that book you've been meaning to read for months. Start journaling. Not about her, but about who you want to be. Take cold showers if you need a reset, or sit in stillness if your mind is racing. Track your thoughts. Get intentional about the direction you're heading. Clear out your physical space. This isn't just about tidying up. It's about clearing the clutter from your mind. 2. Reconnect with your purpose. Every time you feel the temptation to check her social media or scroll through her feed, redirect your focus. Do something that strengthens your identity. It's not about distracting yourself. It's about refocusing your lens. You're not in this for short-term distractions or fleeting pleasures. This is about long-term transformation. The more you cultivate your own center, the less you'll care whether she reaches out or not. And that's not detachment. That's true transformation, the blessing of Stoicism in its purest form. There's a secret here, a key that's often overlooked when you stop performing for her attention and start showing up for your own life. Something changes. That energy becomes magnetic. Whether she consciously realizes it or not, she feels it. Women have a remarkable intuition, and they can sense when a man is no longer orbiting them. They can tell when you've stopped chasing and started living for yourself. And guess what? That's when they may start to feel drawn back in. But by that point, it won't matter to you in the same way. Why? Because you'll have tasted your own power. You'll have learned the art of focusing on yourself, not out of desperation, but because you know your worth. This period of silence won't just get her attention. It will rebuild the man you once were, the man who gave his power away too easily. The modern Stoic knows the key to attracting what you want in life is not chasing it, but becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to chase. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around until the end. Now you know, when you stop contacting her, it's not just a game of disappearing. It shifts everything. It triggers curiosity, plants doubt, and yes, even exposes manipulation. But most importantly, it shows her the one thing she wasn't expecting from you, the absence of need. And that, my friend, changes everything. I know it's tempting to reach out, to send that text, but trust me, don't, not yet. Let her come to terms with the new version of you. Let her feel the silence. You've already won. You're centered, grounded, and stronger for it. Remember, true Stoicism isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about being so grounded in who you are that you don't need to chase or react to anything. Stand firm, stay calm. You'll come out on top. If this video hit home, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more mindset shifts like this, and drop a comment if you've ever experienced that flip of energy when you went no contact. I'll see you in the next one. Stay grounded, stay focused, and stay dangerous in your peace.